From beautiful Gig Harbor, the Night Dreams Broadcasting Network presents Night Dreams with Gary Anderson. The biggest names, the brightest stars on the red carpet and on the air with Gary Anderson. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, when it comes to the big get, Gary's got him. Like voiceover artist Jim Meskimen. Is his mom really Mrs. C on Happy Days? Allison Arngrim from Little House on the Prairie. Oh, speaking of Little House, Gary's got Dean Butler from the show talking about his book, Prairie Man, My Little House Life and Beyond. Here's much more. Yeah, there is. Check this out. Loretta Swit, Hot Lips Houlihan from MASH. So listen to Gary Anderson, because you never know who's gonna show. That's why we do these promos, right? Gary Anderson, where the stars come out to play. Tune in early, tune in often, right here on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with the strange news. Is the mysterious Havana Syndrome really a psychosomatic illness? U.S. intelligence agencies have concluded that the ailments collectively dubbed Havana Syndrome, suffered by U.S. diplomats and intelligence operatives, were highly unlikely to have been caused by a foreign government, according to news organizations briefed by intelligence officials familiar with the 7-agency investigation. I'm Guy Ticker. The strange news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. Coming to you live from the Night Dreams Talk Radio studios and broadcasting this worldwide.
When we were little kids in the 4th grade, 1970, 4 or 5 of the kids in my class were held back, and it was revealed to us by the government that there were 70 ET species known to be visiting us.
It's Gary Anderson, the man who delivers the dish.
The 4 species they were aware of were the tall grays, the small grays, the amphibians, and the Nordic.
Now, sit back and get ready for a ride you won't forget. I mean, how could you?
They're interdimensionals in time ships and not extraterrestrials in spaceships.
And we're just getting started. And now, here he is, the real deal himself, Gary Anderson.
And boy, I tell you what I've been doing today is watching a whole bunch of Doctor Who's. I don't know how many of you are out there and that really enjoy Doctor Who shows, but I tell you, I've been watching them, well, about 60 years since it first came out. That tells you how old I am. And I'll tell you, it's only got better as like wine does. The older, well, that's not even true too. I had some really old wine that was really bad, but I'll tell you, Doctor Who, Tom Baker, he just rocks. And how many of you out there actually watch Doctor Who? And who was your famous doctor? That I would like to know. Well, you know what? The FDA says, well, they put a little bulletin out. Now, they have checked the temperatures periodically, but in the last 10 years, the temperature across the United States has increased 2.5 degrees. Now, a lot of people say, well, that's not much, but you figure in a 10-year period, if the temperature raised 2.5 degrees, and if that keeps happening, what is going to happen to the farmers? What's going to happen to your bananas that come from Hawaii and all the other places? It's really going to affect our food. It's going to it could put a damper even to the bees. Without bees, we're not going to have a lot of, you know what? What do you think about that, Mr. JC?
Listen here, Mr. Gary, that's some scary stuff because, as you know, if the world's overall temperature goes up 2 degrees, we're in trouble.
Yeah. So what do you think has been going on lately, with the economy?
Well, how much further bad can it get? I will say this, the gas went down a little bit, but it's still high.
Well, according to what I just read today, our budget, the government spent $580 billion more this past year than any other previous time.
Wow. I thought he was going to say trillion for minutes.
Well, who knows? It gets padded. But I tell you, we're the one that pays for it when you pay your taxes. Back after World War II, it took to the 60s before they took the war tax off. Now, a lot of people don't realize that you got your states. A lot of states have taxes, right? But everybody was paying a war tax. So when you went up and bought something, you pay sales tax, then you pay a war tax. Are we going to get some government tax down the road thrown on to when you go out and buy something?
Yeah, taxation without representation. I'm going to need another bean party, I guess.
Yeah. Well, who are we going to be talking to tonight and what?
Hey, our guest tonight is Niara. And, well, she's a U.S. Air Force veteran whom has experienced missing time and abductions. Today, she works to raise awareness about extraterrestrials and the deep state.
Well, there's a lot of talk about that. Well, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Now, when did you have your first encounter? And by the way, I want to thank you for the service to the country. That means a lot to me as a vet myself. When did these encounters start? How old were you?
About 4 years old.
And what happened when you were 4 years old? I mean, what was the encounters like?
Well, the one I really remember, which I thought was a dream at the time, however, it was very vivid, very realistic, and unforgettable. I dreamed about my older sister, taking me out in the middle of the night and having me stand under a street lamp. And I'm a little girl, 4 years old. Okay, and she says, "Stand here under this light, and I'll come back and get you in a little while." So I'm standing under this street light. I'm getting more and more scared, and more and more scared, and it was very surreal because the only place that I could see anything was where that circle of light was hitting the pavement, and everything else was pitch black outside the light. And I waited and waited and waited. Finally, I got so scared I started screaming, and I woke up in my bed screaming. So that was the dream. And later on, I had questions about this dream that I put to Bud Hopkins. And Bud Hopkins, unfortunately, is no longer with us. He's passed on. But he was one of the first people I think you probably remember. He was one of the first guys out there doing hypnosis with extraterrestrial contactees and abductees. So I met up with him in Las Vegas, Nevada at a Whole Life Expo in 1994. And by that time, I had a lot of questions about strange things in my life, including something we're going to get into later, the military stuff. But I raised my hand and I said, well, I got this strange dream from childhood, missing time from the military, and a few other things. And he asked me to talk to him after his talk was done. And I did. And long story short, he did a hypnosis session on me that night. And that's when I found out what happened during that dream, because it was, like I said, it was very vivid. It stayed with me all the years of my life. And something really was going on. So the thing is that being put under a light is that's kind of a classic thing. A lot of people remember. They don't remember always what happened under the light, but they did remember being under a light. So basically we went into that experience, and I was taken out of my bedroom at about 4 years old, and I was levitated up out of the bed through the ceiling and into a ship, and I was put on an examining table under a light. So that's where the memory of the light came from. And these tall, gray alien beings, with the gray skin and big black eyes, were standing around, and they were doing something to the abdomen area, and it was like an ultrasound, and they were just kind of doing this procedure to kind of look inside my abdominal area. And I was really scared. And I think I saw my sister standing a distance away, and she looked really calm. And when I saw that, I thought, this is really this is really wrong, because if my sister was really here seeing these creatures, she'd be screaming her head off. So, I mean, that's what I remembered. And I remember at the beginning of the experience when Bud first took me into it, I said, it's really strange because it's nighttime. It's like the middle of the night, but it's really light outside my window. And the light outside my window was coming from that ship that I then was taken into. So that was one of the first experiences that I ever uncovered as to what was going on as far as being taken. And I'll just mention this for the audience. A lot of times I did years of research to try to understand what was going on and what was happening with ET abductions and the other things that I've experienced. And a lot of people that are taken have Native American bloodline somewhere in their heritage. And that's true of me too. I have Cherokee from my dad's side of the family.
Interesting. Here's the thing. It alarms me about, some people, I've been doing this a long time and interviewed literally thousands of people about UFOs, and a lot claiming that they have been abducted. And here's the thing is, if I was just walking down the street and somebody pulls up in a van and throws me into it and then takes me in someplace and they want to harvest my kidneys or whatever, they taken me against my wishes. And what alarms me with these ETs, they don't look at us like we're humans as what we look at each other as, or at least the majority of us does. And they look at us as nothing more than a subject. And that's what really scares me. And how many times do they have to basically kidnap people and do exams on people, prod them, take DNA, do whatever they're doing, removing semen, removing eggs, checking to see if people are fertile or not. And that's the part that really scares me.
It is. And it's like they treat us like cattle, and they tag us with implants. They do all this stuff. And, as far as taking eggs, I mean, I had fetuses, once I hit adolescence, I had fetuses taken from me in the first trimester, probably several times between, say, 14 years old and 20-something years old. And this is really an interesting part of this. When I was 35, I had a tubal ligation because I didn't want to take birth control pills and stuff like that. And the doctor who did the tubal ligation put me under general anesthesia, so I was awake for the procedure. And as he got in there to do the tube tie, he says, "Have you had any other procedures?" I said, "No." "Why?" He said, "Your whole abdominal cavity is full of adhesions. And adhesions is like scar tissue."
Yeah.
And I said, "I haven't had any other procedures at all. I tend to stay away from you doctors, as much as I can, And he says, "Well, it's really unusual." And then in 2008, I had a hysterectomy, and that doctor said the same thing after the surgery. She said, "Your whole abdominal cavity is full of adhesions." So when I had subsequent hypnosis, I found out that when they were harvesting the fetuses, they would go in with a needle through the belly button and probe around in the uterus until they found the fetus, and then they would take it out that way. Because if they go in through the belly button, then it doesn't leave a scar on the outside that can really be seen.
That is really scary. And, and when you were being regressed and remembering all this stuff, how did you feel when you were told what you revealed being regressed?
Well, it was shocking, and yet because of all the things I was kind of remembering or experiencing, not unexpected. Because when you start having these kinds of experiences and you realize there's some credence to what you've experienced, you start reading books and looking at the whole phenomenon because you really want to understand what's going on. So I think that they do need a large DNA pool for whatever it is they're doing, which is basically, to me, it's a hybridization project where they're creating human gray hybrids for whatever purpose that's for.
Well, the whole thing, like Whitney Strieber, when he was on the show, said, you really don't have any control. And it's like every time you go to bed at night or you're alone, you kind of like, is something going to happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you have that fear too? And do you have that fear yet?
I don't have that fear anymore. It seems to me that I've been left alone for quite a long time. But I have had other contacts with more human-like extraterrestrials that have been very, very, they've been really wonderful. So I've had not just the gray experiences, which have been disturbing to say the least, but I've had contacts with other more human extraterrestrials that have actually been quite wonderful.
Well, going back to the grays, a lot of people think that the grays are fantastic. But then all the research and all what I've heard, I would never want to be abducted by one.
No, not a pleasant experience.
And how about have you heard about people being abducted and not returned or mutilated on the craft even?
That I haven't heard about that. We do hear about cattle and other animal mutilations. I haven't heard about that, but I couldn't say that it doesn't happen.
Have you heard?
Then have David, I don't know if you've heard of David Paulides, and he does all this information or all this research into people that disappear from national parks and state parks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all their gear is left behind. The people are gone, and they are never seen or heard from again. And he's been researching this for a while, and he didn't want to accept the fact that they could be being taken off planet. But I think there's a really good chance that these people have been taken off planet.
Something is happening, and I was actually emailing back and forth with Dave, in fact, yesterday and the day before.
Wow.
Here's the thing. If you think about like even little kids, adults, runners, running down the path in their local little forest area. And then all of a sudden one of them disappears and then they find the clothes. And, sometimes the clothes is nicely folded. Sometimes it's just laying there. Something is going on. And then, and here's what, if you sit there and who do you really tell? I mean, I'm taking you now back when you were a little girl and you had that dream. Did you go up to your parents and say you had that dream?
No, when I woke up screaming, we didn't exactly have a stellar family. Dad was alcoholic, and so my mom was jittery about that. So she came in, and instead of being comforting, she just said, shh, 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 you're going to wake up your dad, And so in that moment, I kind of learned, don't bother your parents with your problems.
Yeah, but that's hard on a child. When you're that age, and if something happened that really affects you, and then if you don't have a parent that'll sit there and at least talk to you about it, then that wound stays with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it does. It's just one of those things. It was not ideal. And, I carried a little resentment about it for quite a while. But, it was just the dynamics in the family. And, I tried to be the peacemaker and the one that stood up and said, okay, we're not going to have any violence here tonight. And, it definitely was a childhood robbing experience.
It is. Now, have you ever heard of Terry Lovelace?
No, I haven't.
Okay. He is really out there. He, with, his story, when he was in the Air Force, he was a medic, and him and his buddy decided they're going to go camping in a state campground, and they never went camping in their life. Well, they ended up across the street, not in the campground, and they set up camp, and that night, though, they saw a light coming towards them. It kept coming brighter and brighter, and then they decided they got tired, and they went to bed. And then they heard noise that sounded like a locomotive, diesel idling. And then they heard like noise, like buzzing around like little kids. And when they looked out of their tent, they were abducted and taken aboard a craft. And he claims that he saw bodies in like tubes with liquid and all that stuff. And he said he saw they were stripped naked. He said they saw a whole bunch of people. He heard screams. and all this stuff. If any of this type of stuff is true, just think about it. And what he said is when they released him and his friend, the craft took off and it had a whole bunch of humans on it.
Yeah, very disturbing.
Oh, that's really scary when you think about it. I mean, what is going on? I mean, maybe like you mentioned, they're collecting DNA, they're doing this, maybe they're modifying and coming out with a different type of humanoid or whatever. I mean, when you got like into junior high school and high school, were these abductions going on with you yet?
Yeah, they were going on at that time. I didn't remember a lot of it because, life was taking me in different directions, and, I just didn't remember a lot. There was a lot going on in my life, in my Earth life, to kind of take a lot of my attention. Like I said, I was kind of like my dad's barometer. If I stood up and said he was getting out of control and stood against him to defend my mom, it kind of let him know, even though he was drunk, that he was really getting out of control. And I fielded the stuff going on between my mom and my dad for many years.
So you had a terrible life as a child.
Yeah, not good. A lot of other kids had it much more terrible than I did, but it was not good.
So how many times have you been regressed?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. About 4 or 5 times.
And with each regression, I mean, after the regression, did you have memories then? Were they brought into your brain where you could actually...
Yeah, I did. And I feel like I got the most important memories to kind of make sense of and fill in a lot of the blanks for me. Like, kind of like being used as a broodmare by the ETs, to produce hybrid offspring. I do have 2 human children in this lifetime. And I have a bad feeling that a lot of those hybrid offspring did not survive into adulthood. I think maybe 1 or 2 did, but I wasn't one of those people that was shown their, at least not that I remember. I don't think that I was one of those people that was shown their children on the ship.
That is interesting. Now, you mentioned you have 2 children. Have they had any encounters at all? Have you talked to them about getting regressed or anything?
No, I haven't. I that's something I don't feel comfortable pushing anything onto people. We have touched on the subject peripherally, and my daughter is a little more open to discussing it than my son. But they just, it's not something they want to even get into, and I have to respect that. And there's one thing that I wanted to kind of bring into the conversation. Have you heard of a guy named Dan Sherman?
Yes.
And he wrote Above Black, Project Preserve Destiny. That is a really interesting book. And it's about him being an intuitive communicator, having telepathic contact with an extraterrestrial, and then entering data in a computer, pressing enter, and then that data whisks off to who knows where. He had no idea where it went. So he was like one piece in a whole chain of events, but he only knew his own piece. And the thing that really disturbed him when I read the book was there was like a pain scale. And the pain scale went from, I think, 1 to 10. And he had no idea which end of the scale was intense and which was non-existent. And then they were talking about human beings. And he was really disturbed by this. And somehow he found a way to get out of that program. But he wouldn't tell anybody how he got out of it. He just got out of it somehow. Otherwise, he would have been in it for life.
It sounds too like what the ETs or somebody was controlling his thoughts to be able to do that.
Uh-huh.
Now, Whitley, when he was on the show, he talked about it has, his whole story about being abducted and all that has advanced to the point now where he's getting messages from, these beings. And it's like with his eyes closed, he's seeing like words and symbols just going across. And that's kind of alarming to have that happening.
Yeah. Well, I guess he's found a way to kind of participate with the experience instead of feeling victimized by it. That's the way I kind of see Whitley. And, everybody has to handle this in their own way.
Yeah. Have you had any thoughts, so without being regressed, that you remember on your own and that stuck with you that really has affected your life?
Well, somewhat, mostly it's hard to say. A lot of things have come to me in dreams. Like, are you familiar with the term 20 and back?
Yes.
Okay. I think there's a good chance that I've had a 20 and back experience. I haven't delved into it with hypnosis. Someday, maybe the opportunity will come where I can. But I have had really vivid dreams about living and working on Mars. And really, I would just say really vivid dreams.
I got to ask you a question. James, jump in here. Andrew, the lawyer we've had on numerous times, which is going to be coming back on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't he talk about too that the government has ways to transport people to Mars?
Yes, he does. They had a couple places. One of them was in Jersey. One was in, I think, New Mexico. They would transport him to Mars. He got there. And then we had a couple other guests on too that said that, there was some kind of transporter in a couple places that, took them to Mars, 20 and back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary too. Have you had anybody you've talked to encounter anything like that?
Myself?
Yeah.
They're not somebody I've talked to personally, but I'm aware of Randy Kramer. And then there was another lady, I think Penny Bradley. I think that she had 20 and back, where she lived and worked on Mars for 20 years, then was brought back, age regressed, and stuck back in her life here on Earth. And Dr. Michael Sala is a friend of mine, exopolitics.org. And we talked at a Contact in the Desert conference a few years back, and he said that my experiences in the military would have been, that 3-month time period would have been a perfect time to reintegrate me back into my life here from coming back from a 20-year and back on Mars.
Interesting. Now, we need to go on a break. This is about 3 minutes long. When we come back, we're going to find out more. So stay tuned. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. Again, check out our website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Don't forget, at the top of the hour, we're going to take call-ins. We're going to talk about UFOs. We're going to talk about relationships. What are you going to do on, Thanksgiving and the holiday season? So whatever you want to talk about on Open Lines. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned, and here we go.
To your heart, I have been lost for all of this time. Take me to your heart, where it is safe. You know I will not let you down. Take me to your heart. I need to calm down. To your heart, I need to tell you how much I have missed you so. I feel cold. I need to get warm, baby. Feeling cold in my soul. Where are you now?
Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with the strange news. More children recalling past lives. Researched cases involving a person's second life begin far from where the last one took place, potentially not even in the same country. Perhaps the child will remember more in the future. I'm Guy Ticker. The strange news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. Coming to you live from the Night Dreams Talk Radio studios and broadcasting this worldwide.
When we were little kids in the fourth grade, 1970, 4 or 5 of the kids in my class were held back, and it was revealed to us by the government that there were 70 ET species known to be visiting us.
It's Gary Anderson, the man who delivers the dish.
The 4 species they were aware of were the tall grays, the small grays, the amphibians, and the Nordic.
Now, sit back and get ready for a ride you won't forget. I mean, how could you?
They're interdimensionals in time ships and not extraterrestrials in spaceships.
And we're just getting started. And now, here he is, the real deal himself, Gary Anderson.
And we are back. I just think of what is going on. I mean, there's been, reports of people being abducted for many, many years. And if they're collecting DNA or harvesting eggs or whatever they're doing, I mean, I would think, with their technology, they wouldn't have to keep going back and abducting people. I think there's something more into this. And we're back with a great guest. And one question I have for you, too. Do you think our government or the military or some secret government could be involved with the ETs?
Oh, yeah, I definitely do.
What do you think is actually going on?
What I think is they made a deal with the ETs to allow abductions to happen in the population as long as they were informed about it in exchange for getting extraterrestrial technology and possibly even extraterrestrial oversight of government back engineering programs of extraterrestrial craft so that they could reproduce them.
Maybe for the technology, they're actually sacrificing us humans, the population. And that's scary. Now, when you were in the Air Force, did you have anything really strange happen?
Yes. Didn't remember it for 9 years, but I did have PTSD that I couldn't pin down to any event, okay? Because honestly, I got to tell you, the body remembers trauma even if the mind doesn't. And when there's severe trauma, the mind will break off that memory and it'll stick it into the deep subconscious because the mind just can't handle it. The conscious person can't handle it because it's too traumatic. And those are the kinds of things that happened to me. So I've been out of the military for 9 years. I had a good friend. We were talking about all kinds of subjects, UFOs, ETs, and spirituality and all kinds of things. And he knew that I was in the Air Force, but I always kind of would change the subject every time it came up. And he started wondering about that, him being him. And so one afternoon we sat down, he says, "Can you tell me about your military time? Is that a problem?" I said, "No, it's not a problem." And so I started telling him chronologically, boot camp and Lackland Air Force Base and technical training school at Keesler Air Force Base, and then went home on leave for a while and picked up my daughter to take her with me to my next duty station. And then my first duty station was Nellis Air Force Base, and I was to be working at the Tonopah Electronic Warfare Range. And at that point, I stopped talking and I just stared at him. And I had this wave of nausea just sweep over me. And I looked at him and I said, "I can't remember a single thing about working at Tonopah, and I worked there for 3 months." So that was the first time I realized, at 9 years later, that I had had missing time. And not just a day or a night, 3 months, maybe longer.
Now, could that not maybe been ETs that took that memory from you? Maybe our own government maybe did that?
Well, I don't know how much ETs were involved, but I know that other humans were very involved. And like I said, the trauma was extreme. Basically, what I remembered under hypnosis, Bud Hopkins went into this part of my experiences too that night when he did the hypnosis session to figure out what happened to me in childhood. We looked at this too. Basically, I was taken out of my motel room in the town of Tonopah at gunpoint. There was no break-in of the motel room. These people had a way to get in. You know, they either had a key to the door or they knew how to expertly pick the lock. They came in, they gave me fatigues to wear with no rank insignia, no name tags, no identifying marks. They put us on like a suburban vehicle, and there was a couple other people there with me, but we were not allowed to talk to each other. And they were brandishing guns, so we felt threatened for our lives. Okay, so we sat there in silence. We went out to the electronic warfare range, and they said we were going to test our radar that we worked on special aircraft. And they didn't tell us what the special aircraft was. So I worked on a kind of radar that was surface-to-air missile or anti-aircraft artillery radar. I worked on a surface-to-air missile site. And we went into the radar van. We got coordinates called from, another radar that, looks at the whole sky. And we would get maybe a couple seconds or less of a radar lock on these objects that we were to point our radar in the sky and pick up on them. We picked them up, we saw them on the scope, and they would literally disappear as soon as we got a radar lock on them. Couldn't hold a lock on them. And so this went on for a while, and it was kind of frustrating because we couldn't keep a radar lock on these things. Didn't know what they were, but they had to be something very strange because it wasn't like tracking a jet aircraft. Then the test was supposedly completed, and myself and the other two people that were running the radar were told to stand out on the deck of the radar van under the night sky while people inside the van talked about the results of the test. And we're standing out there, and I personally am just scared to death because I'm thinking, I'm looking in the sky for one thing, and there's saucers out there. There are saucers floating in the sky.
What did they look like?
Near the radar site. The one I focused on that was closest, it was saucer shaped. It was glowing orange on the bottom, and the sound coming from it was like speakers at a rock concert when the music is not playing and the speakers are just on and kind of humming. So it's kind of a sound that you feel as well as hear. You just kind of feel it through your whole body. It's like a vibration. And so I was, the hair was standing up on the back of my neck. I was terrified because I thought, I don't have a high enough security clearance to be seeing this. And I wonder what the heck's going to happen to me next. I was scared to death. And so I watched that craft as long as it kind of hung there. When it was glowing orange on the bottom, it was like there were lights under the metal skin on the bottom. That's the only way I can describe it. And they were kind of lighting up in sequence, like boom, 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 boom. And it made it look like there was a spin on the bottom, but it wasn't really spinning. It was lights just lighting up in sequence. And then they put us on a vehicle and took us to what I believe was Area 51. And there I underwent some kind of medical experiment on me. We were sat down in a waiting room with the lights off in the room. The only light coming in was from a hallway.
Now, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah,
if that was going on, and first thing in my mind was like, hey, how am I going to get the HELL out of here?
Yeah.
I'd be terrified.
I was terrified. And one by one, they called us from that waiting room into this little side room. It was my turn. I went in there. They said, lay down on this examining table. So I laid down on the examining table. There was a guy in there with a sidearm standing at parade rest to watch me and keep an eye on me so I didn't bolt and run. I don't know where I would have run to, especially with somebody with a gun that might shoot me down as I'm running away. So I laid there, scared to death, not sure what's going to happen next. Then a guy in a white lab coat came through the door, walked past the security guard at the foot of the table, up along the right side of me, and walked up beside my head and said, "Stay calm," 3 times in this really deadpan monotone voice. When he got up beside the right side of my neck, he had a hypodermic needle hidden in the sleeve of his lab coat, and he injected me in the right side of the neck. Whatever that chemical was went straight to the brain, and it put me immediately into shock. And
did you get sick?
Did what?
Did you get ill from it?
Did I get ill?
Yeah.
Ill isn't really quite the word. I just went into shock. Suddenly there was 2 security guards, one on either side of me, lifting me up off the table. We went down a very long flight of stairs, and at the bottom of the stairs there was like this little room or booth, and they shoved me in there. They closed the door and locked it, and I did notice there was like a window that was like more like a one-way mirror that was mirrored on my side, and I thought, man, they're going to be watching me through this. And I went through the effects of that injection, and it was horrible. It felt like, I don't know, there was a movie that came out called Lucy, starring Scarlett Johansson.
Uh-huh.
And she got some kind of stuff put inside of her that then ruptured and leaked into her system. And some of her experiences in that movie mirrored some of the experiences I had in that little room, like feeling like I was coming apart at the molecular level. Only instead of my molecules look like they're flying away, I felt more like I was going to turn to liquid and run down a drain.
You know how scary that would have to be to go
really
suffer that.
Terrifying. It's terrifying. And when I started coming out of it, it was like my whole body had been shot with Novocaine. Really intense. You know how when you go to the dentist and you have your jaw shot with Novocaine and then it starts to wake up. That sensation was through my whole body, and it was magnified times 100 at least. It was really terrifying, and I just laid on that floor and I screamed. And I screamed and I screamed until I was exhausted. Then I was just laying on the floor. And then this is where the trauma comes in. So the injection was trauma. The next trauma was those 2 security guards came in, pulled me out of the room once the experience is kind of spent, and I was sexually assaulted in front of 8 people.
I mean, was it who sexually assaulted you?
Those 2 security guards.
Oh God, that's horrible. That makes me want to vomit.
Yeah. And I've wondered about all the people watching, and I think that they were threatened. I think that they didn't seem to want to be there, and they didn't seem to want to watch, but they were forced to watch. And I think that the message they were trying to send to these people is, if you ever talk about the projects you're working on out here, this is going to happen to your wives and daughters.
And they wanted to break you down too and humiliate you, and that's God. That to have that go through that. And what happened after that? Well, I mean, what was the next step after you were raped and molested?
Well, I remember a few other kinds of things, like being in an interrogation style situation where I've got this light shining down on me and the light's in my eyes and I can't see who's questioning me. They weren't really even questioning me. They were threatening me. They were threatening me that, that if I even remembered any of this stuff, that, my daughter was going to be victimized. And my daughter at that time was preschool age. And, it was exhausting. And then there's another kind of drug they injected me with that I think helped in suppressing the memory. It was just crazy. And again, just to mention another movie, Paycheck, and also the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, where they had those things they'd hook up to somebody's head and then they'd zap memories. to try to erase them.
Fry the brain,
or-
actually.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if they did something like that to me. And it feels like that really could have been part of it. But the thing is, because of all my background in spirituality and the human aura, that's a real thing, okay? And all of our memories are not only stored in the brain and the neurons of the brain, all of our memories are stored in the aura of a human being. And so even if the brain is manipulated to like tear out the linkages into a certain block of memory, you can still regain that memory through hypnosis, because your aura retains all the memories of the things that have always happened to you.
So after all these regressions and he found all this stuff out,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, I would go in a deep depression for a while. And
That's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. I remember sitting on the sofa, kind of with my knees up at my chest and my arms around my knees, just kind of rocking back and forth and thinking, how the hell am I going to go on living with these kind of memories?
not just that.
People could be so monstrous to another person of their own race.
Well, yeah, especially if the military is involved with it. It just tells me they don't care about other, they got a motive, and that's the problem. They have motives out there, and we're all expendable.
I don't think the regular military was doing this. I think it was government contract people. I would hate to think that regular military was doing this to me, but I really don't have a sense that it was regular military like I worked with every day that was doing this to me.
Well, there could be one of those secret, with the military and the Pentagon. That's, I've heard things about that. So, it's scary if you think, that, things like that couldn't happen, and it does happen. And after all this happened to you and you found out about it and you went into the depression, I mean, doesn't it make you like you don't want to trust anybody?
Yeah. I mean, as soon as I got the memories back, I mean, I was watching my six all the time, just keep an eye on everything going on around me. For a while, I was really hyper vigilant about it. That's pretty much downgraded to just being vigilant and aware. But I am always trying to pay attention and watch what's going on around me at any given time.
How far were you in?
I have to live that way. That's all there is to it.
How far were you in your time in your service when this happened?
Let's see. Well, it was 1980. I went into the military in April of 1979. Went through boot camp and technical training school, and then Nellis Air Force Base, and that was 1980.
Were you treated anything different when you were in the military, days, weeks, months before this happened? And how about after this, event? Anything going back? Maybe somebody was eyeing you up, watching your performance, anything?
I'm sure they were watching me. I'm sure of that, but because I wasn't aware of it. When you have that severe of a trauma, the mind can't deal with it very well, and it just stuffs it away. It's called, and there's a specific term for this, it's called trauma-based mind control, and it's very well developed. And it came from the Nazis that experimented on Jews in the concentration camps. And then under Project Paperclip, those scientists that did that kind of horrific work were brought to the United States and put to work for our government. Our government wanted to know what these people knew about how far you can push the human mind before it stuffs the memory away and makes it inaccessible to the person.
Well, when they executed all these Nazis after their trial, again, governments will kind of like look the other way if there is anything that could benefit them. And think about, that the person that was involved with our rockets, okay, the V2 project for Hitler, when he came, he was just as guilty as all the other Nazis that were hung. He knew that they were using slave labor and they were dying. and being executed and tortured and starved to death. And in governments, again, how can you say it? You think that any government is for the people, and why would they let stuff like this happen?
There's a dark agenda, and there is, let me give you a quote. Okay, this is from Senator Daniel Inouye of Hawaii during the MK Ultra hearings that came out from the CIA. The CIA they tried to destroy all their documentation on trauma-based mind control because of the Freedom of Information Act. But 20,000 pages escaped destruction. It got pried out of the CIA, and then there were congressional hearings. So Senator Daniel Inouye was quoted after all the hearings everything had been aired and everything. He said, "There's a shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and its own idea of pursuing the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and indeed free from the law itself." And that is the truth. There is a shadowy government. Today, we call it the deep state.
And it is, and it does exist, and a lot of people just don't realize it.
It exists, and I'm living proof that it exists. And I did tons of research for 14 years. After I got my memories back in 1994, I did tons of research for years and years afterward because I wanted to know, how the hell does this happen in the United States of America, and in what political and social context? Because it was very clear to me that the people that did this to me had free reign to operate in the way they did.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm still sitting here today talking to you and not dead is because I absolutely do not believe in suicide.
A lot of people have ended up dead and missing, and because they started talking. I'm talking about for the last 20, 30 years. It's really, I want to, commend you for, being outspoken with, what you've gone through. Now,
well, I'm a patriot, I'm a patriot even before I'm a UFO field person, okay? And as far as I'm concerned, the book that I wrote is the best service I ever did to my country, because I revealed a lot in my book. My experiences were the core of it, okay? And trying to understand the experiences and all the things I learned in my research about what's really been going on in our country and in the world, I put a great deal of it all in my book, because I really wanted people to be aware so that they could understand what's going on and make better decisions about how to take care of themselves and their families. And I really care about humanity.
Yeah, I hate to say it, the way that, I am so close that maybe humanity is at the end of the road, and the way things are going and keep going. And it seems like we're now 90 seconds from the end of humanity. It's scary. What is the name of your book? Because our time is up here. And where can they find it?
Well, it's on Amazon. It's called Facing the Shadow, Embracing the Light, A Journey of Spirit Retrieval and Awakening. And it's in it. I put all my experiences, which, some of them were pretty out there. And I tried to do a lot of research to give people the understanding that even though these experiences seem very incredible, there is a body of research out there that supports that they're possible.
Yeah. And do you have a website or anything to share?
Yeah, I have a website called Facing the Shadow, EmbracingTheLight.com.
Okay, can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, the website is Facing the Shadow, EmbracingTheLight.com.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on and being open about this, and it gives a new dimension what is really happening out there. Because if this happened to you, it's happened to thousands and thousands of people, and that's the scary part.
It is. It's very scary.
Okay,
and
kid.
I've talked to a lot of them, and I've been in contact with a lot of them, and I know my book has really helped a lot of those people.
Great. I want to thank you for coming on, and I want you to have a great holiday season.
All right. You too, Gary. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been great talking with you.
Okay. You take care.
All right. You too.
Well, we're going to go on break for a few minutes. When we come back at the top of the hour, we're going to take call-ins. So, whatever you want to talk about, it's going to be open, and we're going to have fun here for the next hour. So stay tuned. You're listening to me, whoever I am.
Do you really think you're better than me? No, no, no. You can't let go, go, go. All of this pain you hold inside. No, 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 no. You rather reflect it on me. No, 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 no. Think you better let it go, 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 go. Before you push me to the edge, before I lose my head. No, 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 no. I don't wanna be here today. Wish I'd stayed home. Wish I could get away, darling. I don't wanna deal with you today. I don't wanna see your face. Wish you'd shut up. Wish you'd leave me be. No, 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 no. You never let it go. No. You never let me go. You never let it go. Go. Never let me go. Go. No. You never let it go. Go. You never let me go. 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 You never let me go. You never let me go. You never let it go. I don't wanna be here today. I don't wanna deal with you today. Not today. No, 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 no. Always you got something to say. Always bugging me in my face. Wish you shut up. Wish I could get away. Always you got something to say. Always bugging me in my face. Wish you shut up. Wish I could get away. Get away. Always you got something to say. Always bugging me in my face. Wish you shut up. Wish I could get away. Get away. Always you got something to say. Always bugging me in my face. Wish you shut up. Wish I could get away. Get away. Always you got something to say. Always bugging me in my face. Wish you shut up. Wish I could get away. Get away. Always you got something to say. Always bugging me in my face. Wish you shut up. Wish I could get away. Get away. Always you got something to say. Always bugging me in my face. Wish you shut up. Wish I could get away. Get away. Yeah. Always you got something to say. Always bugging me in my face. Wish you shut up. Wish I could get away. Get away. You can't let go, 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 go. No, no, no. Go, go, go. No, no, no. You can't let go, go, go. Do you really think you're better than me? No, no, no. No, no, no. You can't let go, 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 go. Do you really think you're better than me? No, no, no.
From beautiful Gig Harbor, the Night Dreams Broadcasting Network presents Night Dreams with Gary Anderson. Now, on Night Dreams, it's open lines, it's open subject, but no political or religious. Let's have fun. Remember, we are Night Dreamers, The lines are open. Call now. 716-405-0253. That's 716-405-0253. Once again, here's our host, Gary Anderson.
And we are back. Well, that scares me. Thinking about here, you're in the military or you're just walking down the street and you can be abducted, just like that without any type of warning. That really scares me. Well, you know what? Whatever you want to talk about here tonight, we're free to talk about anything. So if you want to give us a call, again, our number is 716-405-0253. That's 716-405-0253. We can talk about Thanksgiving. We can talk about UFOs, abductions. We can talk about your love life, your 57 Etzel. Maybe it's not running. We can talk about that. So give us a call and we'll put you on the air. So who do we have here tonight?
We have Thomas on, Gary. Thomas, go ahead.
Hey, Thomas, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm on. We're good. I missed the wrestling show last night, so just a quickie. When we were kids, it was in the 60s, they had a TV show out here in California, and it was live from the Olympic Auditorium in L.A., and Dick Lane was the host, and they had wrestlers like Mr. Moto, Freddie Blassie, Gorgeous George. But the story is that Gorgeous George had a turkey ranch in Cherry Valley, California, and he had a big restaurant in there, and every Sunday he had turkey dinner. I mean, you had to pay for it, but it was really nice dinner and nice setup he had. And he was actually, I think Ric Flair, modeled his career after Gorgeous George. So,
oh yeah, Ric Flair. Yeah, I remember. Who doesn't not know who Ric Flair is? Woo! I really, I mentioned last night, my wife, when we first got married, my wife was part Hawaiian, part different native tribe mixture. When I went over after we got married, we drove up to, Vancouver, or near Vancouver, Washington. And I was at her grandmother's house, and who was there? Jimmy Stuka and Andre the Giant, which was his friend. And I walk in there, and we're gonna have dinner, and they're all eyeing me up. Oh, you're the guy that married Linda. Yeah, I'm the guy that married. And then when you have a wrestler like Jimmy Stuka, who really was built back then, just look at you, and he goes, "Have you ever hurt Linda? You know what's going to happen to you." And here's Andre the Giant, right? Not just drinking a 16-ounce bottle of beer. We're talking quart bottles of beer, just going down him. And he's going, I tell you, it kind of like scared the what out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, getting back to the abduction thing from last week, once I started to realize that maybe something had happened and the trajectory that when we came over the mountains, and that's the only thing I remember from the whole thing other than my right eye being worked on. And when we came over the mountains, that trajectory is right on the landing pattern for Palm Springs Airport. And I called up down there and told them the date and, about the time, did they have anything on radar? And of course, they said no. So they definitely can, cloak themselves. So
yeah, but okay, let's go into it. Okay, what were you doing in the area? Were you in a vehicle? Were you walking? I mean, let's set us up. What were you doing there? What happened, and how did it happen? What do you remember?
It started. It was in August, and every August down here they have there's a meteor shower, and I was sitting out on my pool step, the first one, and watching them, and one came over the horizon. I thought, man, that's low. That's going to hit out here in the desert someplace, and it just kept coming and coming and coming, and then a complete white flash, and I don't remember anything except coming back over the mountains. I could see the tops of the pine trees and, the terrain and stuff because I had flown over it many times. But it just, it was a lot of lost time. But the one thing I did after that, I started to tell you last week, was I have dreams, and within a day or two or a week, they happen. So I'm associating that with the time travel aspects. So that's the thing that just amazes me, because I didn't have it before.
When did this
vivid dreams?
Thomas, when did this actually, what year did this originally happen?
1994.
Okay, do you remember, did you get any dreams about, major earthquakes happening or anything like that ahead of time?
Yes, I did. There was one that was on its way to Chicago that crashed, and I believe it was an American Airlines flight. I don't remember exactly the number of it or anything like that, but that came out in October of that year. And, that wasn't, like a couple of 3 days or anything like that. But I mean, it was in October, and this was in August when I feel like I was abducted.
Now, when you feel like you're abducted, have you ever been regressed or anything to find out exactly what happened to you?
I haven't, kind of in the one way I don't want to know. But right now, for the last 2 years, I've been having problems with my right eye. And I told you that next day when I woke up in the house here, my right eye was really sore, the whole area around it. I have right now like a dead spot in the center of my pupil, and I see things distorted. I mean, everybody's face looks like it's melting on my right side. And they don't know if there's anything they can do about it or not. But that's basically the only thing. I don't remember, and I didn't have anything else worked on that I know of. So
have you had any dreams of what the craft looked like inside?
I haven't exactly, but I still have the dreams of flying. Of maybe I was able to be awake at that time and remember that for some reason. I don't know. I have no idea. But living out here in the desert, we're in the valley and there's mountains all around us. The eastbound flights go to the south of me and the westbound flights go to the north of me. And you do see a lot of strange things coming from north to south. And I don't know if I'm assuming that those are satellites. So, and I played in a band, and we played in Landers out there by where the Megatron or the round dome building that the guy used to, or that had that society back in the 50s, 60s.
Oh yeah,
they met at
Thomas.
I can't remember. Integratron is what it's called.
Yeah, Thomas.
And I've been to that, and it's amazing.
Thomas, we've actually had the grandson of that, and he was trying to make a movie about what was going on. Do you know Howard Hughes paid to have that built? Yeah.
And it's supposed to have been, you walk in and you reverse your aging process. And now they have a therapy session in there, sound therapy. And I've been in that building, and it's amazing how it's put together. And it's supposed to have the one part, get up and spin around. And I don't think he ever got that completely working or anything like that. But the guy that was building it, when he died, all of his notes and everything have been, mysteriously taken or not in existence anymore.
But that
it's an amazing area out here because there are a lot of, it's dark and you see a lot of things up in the sky that aren't. I know they're not ours. They're not helicopters, but they do, when they take off, they do leave quick.
I was going to say that structure you went into. Do you know that whole thing back in the 50s, early 60s? They had literally thousands of people lining up at night looking for UFOs because there were so many sightings of it.
There's an area out there. It's called Big Rock. And
Big Rock.
This big giant rock. And the guy, one of the guys, used to live underneath it, and then there was an earthquake or something. And
No, Thomas.
But he had his own room, house underneath there.
Thomas, you know what happened to the guy? He spoke German, and they thought he was a spy. And he also endeavored into amateur radio. And the police came out, and they had a warrant to, check everything out, to check him out. And he refused to come out. And for some reason, when he built that, he had dynamite in there. And they put in a smoke bomb in there. And guess what happened? It blew up. It didn't collapse on him. He literally was blowing up. Yeah, I do remember that. They had a big special on that on one of the Ancient Aliens shows. And it was quite interesting. But, like I say, this whole area out here, there's so much vast space that anything could be going on. Oh yeah.
When I was in high school, I was a freshman in 1964, and the town I lived in was Beaumont, California, and Lockheed had their big plant down in a Portero Canyon, which was surrounded by mountains, and it's a whole big valley, and that's where they used to test the rockets. And our band was practicing at this ranch close to it, and we saw something one night.
Hey Thomas, we have to end it here. We have to end it. The time is over with. I want to thank you so much, and keep listening and call in again. Every Friday we have the call in, so keep that in mind. And just think about that. The Little Rock. The guy lived in this, and everybody in the community, because it's bordered a military base just a few miles from that huge rock. And he created that by blowing a hole in the rock. He was living in there, and they thought he was a spy. And, the police came out, the FBI came out, and they wanted to talk to him, interrogate him, and find out what was going on. And he refused to come out. So they sent in a smoke bomb, which detonated the TNT he had. And he had one hell of a blowjob, I can tell you that. It just literally blew up, and that was the end of him. But, a lot of people don't know that whole story. The reason why I know it, we had his grandson on a couple times back in the past. He told us the whole story. But think about this right near there. Thousands of people would come out and gawk at UFOs almost every night. Well, anyway, we have another guest. So who would, a caller, I should say. Caller, who do we have?
Hey, Gary, this is Dave Libby. How are you?
Dave, are you staying out of trouble?
I'm doing the best I can.
Well, Kim says you get in trouble a lot.
I know, that's my middle name.
Well, what is going on with you tonight? Are you excited about Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah. We got 2 dinners we're going to go to, so it's twice the Thanksgiving for us.
Yeah, and if you're smart, ask for some leftovers, and you don't have to cook for 2 days afterwards.
That's the plan, Gary. You're right on that one.
Well, you know what I do? Seriously, I'm at the point where I'm going to be honest with you. Some of my relatives, I don't associate anymore. So what I do is if they call up and say, hey, are you going to have us over for Thanksgiving? Well, this year I'm going to have, and I'll say something really bizarre. But I'll say like, oh no, my wife got this new recipe for baked Spam. And they'll say, okay, well, I just was checking in, and I want you to have Grandpa, I want you to have a great Thanksgiving. Oh, no problem.
Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. So what is going on with you?
Not much. One of the things I wanted to talk about that I deals with your show and stuff. What do you know about, or do you believe in the Loch Ness monster? That's always been my favorite since I was a teenager.
Well, I think there is something in Loch Ness. And again, could it be a big sea eel? Could it be an eel? Some scientists say, eels can grow to the area that they're confined in. Like we got an aquarium. It's a 50-gallon aquarium. And the goldfish started out at 2 inches, and now they're like 14 inches. We have a suckerfish that started out like an inch, and it's now like about 15 inches. Could you imagine maybe an eel or something, grew?
Well, I've been there 3 times, and that is one of the theories, because there is a lot of eels and Arctic char and salmon that run through Loch Ness. I think there's like 5 rivers that flow into it. But one of the first things when I went the first time was it's almost the perfect place to hide something. Not only is it 23 miles long, it's about a mile to mile and a half wide. And when you drive around the road, probably about 70% of the highway that you're driving on, you can't see the loch very clear. Because it's steep, where it was formed by a glacier in the Great Glen. And it's the water. If you go below 5 feet, you can't see anything from all the peat that flows down, from the sides of the loch. And it's just the size, but it's something mysterious. I'll never forget taking the taxi from Inverness, and because this was a dream since I was a little kid. I used to go to the library all the time and get the books on Bigfoot, UFOs, all that. But Loch Ness was always my favorite. When I joined the Air Force, the very first thing I did was when I got to pick where I wanted to go, I put England, and that was for the sole purpose of going to Loch Ness.
And when you went to Loch Ness, how much time did you spend there?
The first time I was there was for about 2 weeks, and then I went back for about another 2 weeks. But the third trip I went in 1987 was I timed it perfectly. They were doing what's called Operation Deep Scan, and it was run by Adrian Shine. And what he was doing was he took about 24 boats, and he was going to go up and down the loch in about a 2-day period and scan the entire loch up and down. So when I checked into my hotel in Drum de Dracket, which was a nice little town right near the castle, Urquhart Castle, and I saw all these news people and all these people running around. So I was talking to a couple of people, and I said, "Hey, what are you guys here for?" And they said, "Well, we're here for this thing." So I kind of tagged along with them, and they eventually, let me go on one of the boats, which was a dream of mine to be able to go up and down the loch, looking for something.
What would happen, Dave, if you would have been on that boat and the Loch Ness monster just came and swallowed the boat?
I wouldn't be talking to you, Gary.
I would have jumped off.
Yeah, it's really deep. They had a couple of divers there that actually quit because when you go down, it's anywhere, almost to over 1,000 feet deep. But when you get down about 5 or 10 feet, you can't see anything. So it's like total darkness. Imagine if you were, doing scuba diving in total darkness. And I know there was a couple divers that actually quit because they said it was, one guy said he felt something go by him and it freaked him out and he didn't want to do it anymore. But it's pretty cold water. So if I had to jump off, I'd swim as fast as I could to the shore.
Yeah. Think about it. Loch Ness, I do think there's something there, or not just one. I think there's a multiple there. But the sightings have gone back, long time. And then you know what? There's also Crater Lake in Oregon. There's been sightings of something there, like the Loch Ness monster. Have you heard that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah. And you got the Ogopogo monster in British Columbia. You got Champ up in the north. I mean, there's quite a few places that have the same similar type loch monsters and stuff. But it's a very interesting place. The people in Scotland were wonderful. Absolutely loved them. The town was great. I went the first time and it stayed pretty light the whole time. So it was pretty nice to kind of walk down there in the middle, 2:00 in the morning and still be kind of light. But it was a dream come true. So if you have a dream, sometimes it comes true. And I was lucky mine came true.
Oh, yeah. Again, too, when I was in the Army, I put down where I wanted, and I ended up going completely opposite what I put down to. And, so you were lucky, that.
Oh yeah, very lucky. I was telling Kim that, when I was waiting for my packet, I was in Denver, Colorado for my school, and I was waiting to get my packet to see where I was going to go. And finally, one day I saw my packet in my mailbox. So I took it out, and I didn't know what an APO was at the time. And on the front of it, it said APO New Jersey. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to New Jersey.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was the stateside address for when you go overseas. So when I opened up the packet, it said, welcome to Great Britain. And I was extremely lucky to get my first pick.
Well, my first I was put on the airplane, and when I woke up, I was in Vietnam. So there you go.
Oh,
but, Dave.
That's a heck of a first duty assignment.
Yeah. Well, maybe one of these days they'll find the remains of the Loch Ness.
I know they did. They recently, not too long ago, they did a DNA thing where they tried to take the water and see if they can find any DNA. They didn't find anything unusual, but they did find that there isn't a very, like you said earlier, a real heavy population of eels. So I think it possibly could be a large eel or even a whale's catfish, because they can grow pretty big themselves.
Well, they found eels over 20-some feet long in that lake.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge. When you think about an eel, 20-some feet, yeah, that's scary. Well, hey, Dave, our time is up, and I do want to thank you for calling in, and feel free to call in on any Friday, will you?
Well, thank you, and you have a happy Thanksgiving, Gary.
I'm going to, and believe me, we're going to have turkey, not Spam.
Awesome.
Okay, you take care. Well, think about that. Loch Ness Monster. Is it an eel? Could maybe an eel have grown 40, 50 feet in size? And think about the depths. So some parts of Loch Ness is over 1,000 feet deep. And if one of these creatures did die, it's going to settle down to the bottom of it. So the odds are of actually finding one. It's like Bigfoot, right? We have no remains of a Bigfoot. And a lot of people say, well, if you die in the forest within a matter of days and weeks, everything of your remains is like scattered and gone really fast. Again, if you think about Loch Ness Monster, if one of those die, and who knows how long they live. They found a fish here recently that lives over 100 and some years. This is a fish. Think about that. A fish can live over 100 years and a human can't. That is really, really a bummer. So we got another caller. Who do we have?
You there, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I want to talk to you about two things tonight. The first is rock apes, and the second is getting into trouble.
Getting into trouble. I seem to do that every day when I get out of the bed and put my slippers on. I go, okay, what did I do wrong today?
Well, yeah, Gary, misery loves company, right?
Oh, yeah, or something in that nature.
I had a friend of mine, this was back in 1968, and in the place, the Sun and Fun capital of the world, better known as the Old Muddy, he was and a squad of 7 people were assigned to go into the Central Highlands. There was supposedly a cave up there, and they had a stash of NVA and BC armaments and ammunition. So they basically trekked up there, and it took them a long time because they had to go through some 3-canopy jungle, and you've been in that, so you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But they finally were able to hack through. They found a clearing, and when they got to that clearing, They saw this cave probably about a half a click out, which is a kilometer. So they started to walk towards it. And as they did, one of he was a staff sergeant in his company, got hit right in the chest with a baseball-sized rock. And there were probably 6 or 7 of these creatures, not as big as the one that you got accosted by. In fact, they were probably maybe a foot shorter. But they started throwing rocks at these guys. And the first E6 that got hit fired back with an M60, and they all scattered. But subsequently, we received reports of not only, from VC and NVA, of they were encountering the same thing. And it was never reported by the media, at least not that I'm aware of. But that was Southeast Asia's version of Sasquatch.
Well, again, the Bigfoot, I don't care what you want to call it. The abominable snowman or Yeti or whatever you want to call it. They've been reported all over the world. And if you think about it, even going back 50, 60 years ago, we didn't have internet. And they certainly, in these small little villages in Timbuktu, right? They didn't have TV. So how would all this got around about these creatures all around the world?
Well, that's absolutely true. And in the Himalayas, they call them the Yeti. The Chinese have names for them. Yeah, all over the world, South America, Central America. You've had many friends and relatives that were Native Americans that talked about that phenomenon, but they're not all the same. They're, I think, like human beings, we're not all the same, and they have different types and different temperaments, and they can range anywhere from the ones that accosted my friend in the Central Highlands, where they're throwing rocks at you, to some that'll basically scope you out but leave you alone. So you're not dealing with, it's just like human beings. We're not all the same.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And what was the other thing you wanted to talk about?
I wanted to talk to you about getting into trouble.
I'm always in trouble. So why would I want to talk about getting into trouble when trouble is my middle name?
I want to tell you, there's a specific way that I'm thinking of getting into trouble. As you know, I'm taking a hiatus from the band, and I want to enjoy my retirement, and I am looking at buying a sports car.
Sport? I thought you were going to get a truck. Now you're talking about what type is it? Oh, don't tell me it's a Corvette, whatever.
Oh, no. That's way out of my price range. What I am looking at is a Mazda Miata MX-5, and it only has a top speed of about 145 miles an hour. So at 3 o'clock in the morning on Interstate 5, I couldn't get into that much trouble, could I?
I don't know, but back years ago, okay, the statute of limitations is over with. I don't have to worry about it. I had a friend who was a racer, and he would race Corvettes nationally, and he was on the top whatever, okay? But he owned a chain of a couple auto parts stores. And then he also had a place where they customized cars. Well, I became good friends with a guy, and I had an 86 Corvette. And he said, well, you know what? I can really, if you just let me have your car for a couple of weeks, and if you have a deep pocketbook, which I did, he goes, give me permission to do whatever, right? I said, do whatever, okay? I don't care what it costs. At that time, I had some money. And I got the car back. And it was supercharged. It had headers on it. Now, this is an 86 Corvette. It was repainted. He had it repainted. The upper part was red. The bottom part on the Corvette was silver. Now, he said that it was capable of doing over 200 miles an hour. And there was a place, they built a little short freeway ramp to connect over to the other freeway down near, I think it was Auburn. Yeah, Auburn or Kent, right around there. So, I decided, okay, I'm going to try it out. And I had that thing up to 180 miles an hour, just like that.
Whoa.
And then all of a sudden, I noticed the lights behind me when I slowed down. Okay, I pull over. I'm going, okay, I'm going to go to Kent jail. I know that. I'm going to go to jail. It was a state patrol. He was really nice. He's gawking at the car because he goes, I didn't know he was really into Corvettes. And he goes, I didn't know you could do this with a Corvette. And he goes, how much horsepower do you have? I said, it's over 800 horsepower. And he goes, what type of fuel? Oh, I have to use either airplane fuel or racing fuel. And he goes, okay, can I sit in it? I go, well, okay. He's going to get me out of the car to handcuff me, right? So I get out of the car and he gets into it. And he goes, hold on. So he radios in, he's going to go to lunch. Right? Now he goes, can we try it out? So I get in the passenger side. Tom?
Was this a stick or an automatic?
This was a modified automatic.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, he takes it up to about 180 miles an hour. He pulls off the side of the road and he says, you know what? I'm not going to give you a ticket. What's your phone number? I tell you, I was sweating bullets. I'm telling you. That's the type of car you can go get yourself a nice like 74 classic Corvette, get some nitrous oxide in it, a tank right behind the between, passenger and driver's seat, really make it really cool. Get it with a 427,
Outstanding. That's when they still made them.
That's when they made them. That's what you should buy. I could see you wearing a little hat, and getting in that Corvette, just go cruising around.
Well, will you come and visit me at the county jail?
Certainly. I'll probably be there right with you.
Well, maybe you could go racing with me and we could have adjoining cells.
Those days are long gone. That was a long time ago, because that Corvette was brand new when I got it. So that tells you, 86. So, those were the days.
When I could actually afford the fuel for them, too.
Well, even then, apparently, it was only two places. We lived near Auburn at that time. So I had to either buy racing fuel, and when they were out of racing fuel, which was a Phillips 66 gas station on Auburn Way, it used to sell it. I would just, right there, the Auburn airport was right there. I'd just go in there and I knew one of the guys. I said, hey, fill it up.
Super high octane. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to run over 100 octane to run. Good old days. Anything else before I let you go? Because we got other people wanting to call and talk about making pumpkin pies.
Right. Hey, happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Okay, Tom, you stay out of trouble, okay?
I'll try. Take care.
Okay, and send me some pictures when you buy that sports car, okay?
I will, sir. You take care of yourself.
Okay, you take care, my friend.
Now, on Night Dreams, it's open lines, it's open subject, but no political or religious. Let's have fun. Remember, we are Night Dreamers. The lines are open. Call now, 716-405-0253. That's 716-405-0253. Once again, here's our host, Gary Anderson.
I just think about last year. My wife made 4 pumpkin pies, and they looked beautiful. And when we went to eat them, we couldn't even put them in our mouth. She forgot to put the sugar in it. Now, how could you make 4 beautiful pumpkin pies and no sugar? I tell you that. That was kind of a surprise. I don't know about you, but this year we got a nice turkey. I'm going to make sure we have pumpkin pies with sugar in it and all that, the trimmings and all that stuff. The only thing is, a lot of people like having ham for Thanksgiving, and it's not the same thing. But I got a cure for that. What you need to have, right, is some prime rib. You need to have, ham, and then a nice turkey, and then all the fixings. What do you think about that one, JC?
It's good to me. I love ham sometimes, and then of course turkey. You know what? Once a year, what a perfect with all the fixings. I'm all for it.
Oh yeah. What's your favorite? Is the pie or is it the turkey?
The butterscotch pie is my favorite.
Yeah, mine is the pie with vanilla ice cream. And if no one's looking, I can devour a whole pie just by myself.
Oh yeah, butterscotch pie, and then my mom, she takes the extra dough and makes these cinnamon rolls that literally will melt in your mouth.
Oh yeah. So you're going to be at your sister's or your mom's for Thanksgiving?
They live together. And then she makes homemade noodles by hand. Everything's by hand. So it's like the food is just incredible.
Okay. Why are you calling in? Come on. The lines are all open right now. You can certainly give us a call. And the number here is 716-405-0253. That's 716-405-0253. Don't make me talk to myself for the next 20 minutes, please. I still think that time, when that Corvette and that state patrol officer pulled me over. God, I was so scared. The first thing in my mind, I'm going to be going to jail. I'm not going to have enough money for bail. And you know what really scared me is you think of when you're going that speed, you got this thrill and you're so excited. And then afterwards, you get the feeling like, what would have happened if a tire blew out? At that speed, you're gone. And, a Corvette is not metal, it's fiberglass. So, you have all that. It's scary. And I think we got another caller, and we had Kim on the line. So, Kim, what are you up to tonight? Are you keeping Dave under control?
Never. Never. But
I heard when he was looking for the Loch Ness Monster, he had a fishing pole and he had cheese puffs on it trying to catch it.
Oh, anything's possible with David.
Sorry, David, I ratted you out.
Yep.
So what are you going to do for Thanksgiving?
Well, first, I want to correct you. You said 57 Etzel earlier in your show.
I'm sorry, it's 58.
That's only made in 57, 58, 59, and 60.
Right, I was off a year. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My dad had
50.
one.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah, it was always breaking down. It was a 58.
Oh, yeah. Those were I think they were the better looking. They had the horseshoe collar or the horse collar around the nose. 59 did too, but it looked a little different. And then 60, they just kind of destroyed the look.
But you know what he did? He had it for a while, Kim, and then he didn't like it. And, back at that time, Ford had the convertible with a metal retractable roof. And he saw that when he was taking his Etzel in because it was breaking down all the time, right? He took it back to the Ford dealership. He saw one, so he traded it in. And my mom was livid. She said, you haven't even had the other one 6 months. Because you take a bath, you trading a car in. But he took her out and he goes, look. Because she didn't realize it was the retractable metal top because it looked like a normal car. And he just pushed a button and the metal top would go into the trunk. It was cool.
Mm-hmm. Etzel's really kind of got a bad rap. My husband of 20 years and my boy's father, we had 36 Etzels all at the same time.
36?
36.
You brought out the whole Ford inventory. Now, wait a minute. 36 would have probably been the whole production run of the Etzel.
Yeah, we just about had them all.
Don't tell me they were white and yellow, please.
9 yards.
Kim, don't tell me they were white and yellow Edsels. Don't ever say that.
But
were they?
Yeah.
They
were
were
they white and yellow?
Yeah.
No, actually, the station wagon was red and white. It was really pretty. We had all different color of Edsels, and we literally had our whole basement was just stuffed with them, along with a Model A, an old Model A, and let's just say that we were car poor, but our
Yeah. Well, I grew up that way. My dad bought I think a 49 or 52 Studebaker. The one everybody said they couldn't figure out which direction you were going. You remember that car?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one of those.
I thought Studebakers were pretty. Now, interesting fact about my husband and my boys, they are part of the Studebaker family. In fact, they're in the Studebaker family tree book. So I think that's why, my husband was so big on cars.
Well, my grandfather was into the Ramblers. Remember the Nash Rambler?
Yeah.
Yeah, that when you're a young kid and you have to sit in the back seat with two adults, and a Nash Rambler is like being in the size of a Volkswagen.
Oh, you wouldn't believe the cars.
Try to get a girl pregnant in a Nash Rambler, JC. It'll never happen in the back seat. I'll tell you that.
I'll take your word for it, Gary.
Yeah, if you owned one of those, you didn't have a sex life in the theater, in the drive-in. Anyway, go ahead, Kim.
Yeah. So, we just had all kinds of cars, and I never had a new car up until I bought my own when the boys were older. But, I drove this big, hot pink aircraft carrier thing. Can't remember what it was because I hated it so bad. They had the great, big, huge wings on the back.
That was two of them. That sounds almost like a Cadillac in a way. They had huge fins in the back, and Ford Mercury had one with fins in the back too.
I couldn't remember, but I finally threatened him, and I told him, "Oh, and in this car, see, I couldn't leave town. Maybe that's why he had me driving it. I couldn't leave town because I could only turn. I believe it was I could only turn the car to the right because if I turned it to the left, it would pinch the power steering line, and it would leak out."
So in other words, you just went around the block.
Yeah, I had to strategically go into the grocery store to go shopping.
But what happens if wait a minute, Kim? What happens if the store was on the other direction? Would you have to go buy a new house to go to that store?
Yeah, I couldn't go to it. if I could turn the car the right way where it wouldn't leak out the power steering fluid, then I couldn't go.
That's a good one. That is one of the best stories I ever heard about a car. Can you imagine, JC, you have a car, right? And let's say you could only turn right or left, and you lived in the wrong part of the town, and the stores were all on the left side of the town, and you can only turn right. You'd have to go miles out of your way to get into the A&P grocery store.
Yeah, that's the old you can't get there from here.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, let me tell you. And that was just one of the cars I had. And I told him, I said, if you don't sell this thing, I'm going to put my hair up in curlers, put bright red lipstick on, and those cat horn rimmed glasses, and I'm going to drive around town. I'm going to embarrass you to death until I get it.
Wait a minute. But Kim, you just said it can only turn right. So how are you going to drive through the town if you can only go right?
Oh, well, yeah, you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, you just have to go around, one side of the town because you couldn't go across You couldn't go around the other side because you'd have to turn the other direction.
That did somebody purposely do that to car to keep you where you couldn't go to the left side? That's what I'm thinking. They didn't want you to go to that Safeway store. They wanted you to go right to the APM. I figured that one out.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? And he bought me an old pickup, which I love because I love old pickups. You know, the rounded ones, the rounded fenders, and all of that kind of thing. And so I just love the pickup. Well, me being dumb, I didn't know that this old pickup wouldn't have heat in it. So here I am with the baby, Brian, my firstborn, and I needed to go to the store. And it's winter. And so I go climbing in this old pickup truck and I turn it on and it doesn't heat up. And I thought, okay, well, it's old. So I'm just going to roll on down the road and it'll heat up. It didn't heat up. Windows started fogging up and freezing, the whole thing. So I had to turn around and come back home. And I told Ted, I said, this truck doesn't have heat. You're going to have to put a heat in it. And he goes, they don't make them with heat.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm talking when I was a kid. When you went to buy a car, right? Oh, you want a heater in it? Well, that costs this much more. Oh, you want wipers that actually work? That costs this much. You want a radio? That's this much. Okay. They nailed you for a heater. And if you wanted air conditioner, oh, that's thousands of dollars more. So that car you were going to buy for $1,900 or $1,700 ended up being $3,400, which is now, you know, in today's money, probably $40,000 or more, just to get a heater.
Yeah. Yep. So, you know, my life in vehicles, just I've drove practically all of them.
Well, you know what you should have done, Kim, is said the hell with buying cars and driving cars and driving a truck. You should have just got a motorcycle, like a Harley. Then guess what? Your feet are going to be warm because the motor generates a lot of heat, and you have the wind blowing your hair to the back.
No, I don't like motorcycles. First time on a motorcycle is with when I was younger with a boyfriend, and he had a motorcycle, and he comes in I grew up in the country, and we had a really long gravel driveway, and he pulls in that gravel driveway and then lays that thing over on me, and it literally burnt my ankle to bits. I still have the scar from it. So, yeah, I don't do motorcycles.
Oh, you know, up to I got my injury from the goat a couple years ago, I rode a motorcycle like 27,000 miles a year. That was my life. I would go from Seattle or Tacoma all up to see my friend in Pahrump and back. And me and my sons would do road trips for 2-3 weeks at a time. And then I'd ride it in the rain and everything. And then one day, me and my wife stopped at our little cafe where we used to go. And there was another biker there. And, you know, he jinxed us, or I jinxed us. You know, he goes, how long you been riding? I said, well, I've been riding for like 40 some years. He goes, how many times have you crashed? I said, never crashed. I never did. Honestly, I came close to it a few times, but never. Now, after we ate, I'm going to go up and buy bling. That's chrome. For my Harley, you know, that and sex was the most important thing back a few years ago. So I have to go up this big hill that has a light on it, you know, a stoplight, to get up to where the Harley dealership was. And there was a big truck in front of us. And so I had to stop up a nice incline, which is really hard on a motorcycle because you got to slip the clutch, you got to put the brake on, you got to let up on the, you know, it's not like a car. It's worse. And when the truck took off and I gave it gas, there was a huge rock. And I hit the rock and I went down. And it was like $5,000 worth of damage through my wife, because she didn't lean the other way, because I could have saved the bike, but she leaned the way the bike was going. So she got thrown off the bike. I had this 1,100-pound bike on me. People had to pull it off of me. And that was the last of riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I'm going to go cry now.
A lot of people that that didn't have such a good record as you as far as driving motorcycles goes. So, yeah, my dad used to drive a motorcycle back and forth to work from out in the country, clear to North Kansas City. And it was just a smaller motorcycle. It wasn't a Harley or anything. And he had someone run him off the road right before he got to our house.
That does happen.
And he never rode. Yeah, he never rode after that.
Okay, Kim, guess what? Our time is up.
Well, you have a happy Thanksgiving, and everyone else sits in chat, and you'll have a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, you too, and you eat 2 turkeys for me, will you? You have a good one. Well, I'm getting excited right now. My stomach is just like going. Like, I want to eat turkey now, but it's frozen. I got a cure for that. I got banquet TV dinners. And guess what they are? Turkey. But then you sit there and wonder, is it really turkey that you're eating? Have you ever noticed that some of the food, when you buy it, is so processed, you're not really sure what you're eating? Well, anyway, again, a big shout out from John from LA, Mary from Little Rock, Ruth from Vancouver, and Anna from Grand Forks, Robert from Philadelphia, Dorothy from Jacksonville. We have Dave on chat on with YouTube, Tom from Metatron Power Light. We have Ron, and we have Thomas, and we have a few other people on chat. So I just want to say thank you for being on chat. And again, if you have want to talk about something, it can be about dating, it could be talking about pumpkin pies, with vanilla ice cream, or what you're going to do for Christmas. And again, I want to tell people, this is the time of year you got to think of your loved ones. And there's a lot of people out there that have lost their mate and they're lonely. And this is a good time to reach out to them and maybe invite them over for the holidays and spend some time with them. Because, being single at an older age and maybe you've lost your wife or husband, it's a good time to, reach out to somebody. We're going to play the song. We'll be right back. You're listening to, me, I think. I don't know. But I hope you're sitting in that easy chair. I hope you got your legs propped up and you're drinking a warm mocha and thinking about being a night dreamer.
Do you really think you're better than me? No, no, no. You can't let go, go, go. All of this pain you hold inside. No, 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 no. You rather reflect it on me. No, 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 no. Think you better let it go, 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 go. Before you push me to the edge, before I lose my head. No, 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 no. I don't wanna be here today. Wish I'd stayed home. Wish I could get away, darling. I don't wanna deal with you today. I don't wanna see your face. Wish you'd shut up. Wish you'd leave me be. No, 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 no. You never let it go, no. You never let me go, go. You never let it go, go. Never let me go, go, no. You never let it go, go. You never let me go, 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 go. You never let me go. You never let me go. You never let it go. I don't wanna be here today. I don't wanna deal with you today. Not today. No, 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 no. Always you got something to say. Always bugging me in my face. Wish you shut up. Wish I could get away. Always you got something.
Now, on Night Dreams, it's open lines, it's open subject, but no political or religious. Let's have fun. Remember, We are Night Dreamers. The lines are open. Call now. 716-405-0253. That's 716-405-0253. Once again, here's our host, Gary Anderson.
Woo! And we're back. We got about 5 minutes if anybody wants to call in. And if you haven't called in tonight, well, we got enough time for a quick chat. If not, well, you're going to have to wait till next Friday to call in and talk to me. Well, again, Christmas time. What do you buy a wife, your spouse, after you've been married going on 47 years? What do you buy? What do you get? I mean, do you buy flowers? Do you buy chocolate? Do you buy a robe? Well, I bought her a robe and jewelry last year. It's still in the package, never been worn. The jewelry's in a jewelry case. I've never seen it. What do you buy somebody? No, don't tell me to go out and buy a 58 Edsel, because that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. JC, I mean, you're lucky. You don't have that problem. I'll tell you that.
Gas card would probably be a good purchase.
A gas card?
Yeah, it'd be practical.
Well, that maybe she'll run away if she had enough gas.
Well, okay, I'm not even going to say nothing. I don't want to get you any more.
You're not going to get, you get me in trouble a lot on the show. You know that.
That's what I mean. I do.
Yeah. Like, what did you say to Geico? Does that ring a bell?
I know. I listen. Part of the admittance is, getting over the denial, so to speak, recovery.
Yeah. If you could go to the Loch Ness and look for the monster, would you do it?
I don't think so, unless it was all paid, because I'll be honest with you, I think it might be some eels, because there's just not enough fish for food for these big beasts that they say
how
live
about
there.
people go swimming and they figured they drowned and disappeared? Maybe the Loch Ness monster got them.
Yeah, well, I think it might be a big eel, if anything.
Yeah, a big. Could you imagine I like these fish. I watch monster fish occasionally on cable, and there are some of these fish that have teeth. Oh, like worse than a vampire. And these fish are like 10 feet long, 12 feet long, and they're in rivers like in South America and Asia. I wouldn't want to go in that river.
Oh, if you get in if you get in the Amazon River, that's a suicide. There's so many things that can eat you in there that's you can't even count them.
Well,
all.
if we ever decide to go swimming in one of those rivers, like in the Amazon, me and you, I'll have you put your feet in the water first to test the temperature.
Yeah, I appreciate it. There's stuff in there to kill you that won't even eat you. It's so bad.
Yeah, well, bacteria too. You go in there, and then all of a sudden you have like these worms growing in you.
And remember those little catfish that like to crawl in holes?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Some people like eating catfish. Could you imagine a catfish that likes eating you?
Yeah, well, it's true. There is catfish big enough to can eat you. It's been seen, mister.
No, up here in Washington State, this is no lie. In a lake, okay, they got a catfish and killed it. When they opened it up, they found part of a human remain in it.
Okay, listen, catfish will eat anything, and they never stop growing. All fish are brutal. A guy the other day was a video caught an 8-pound bass that had a 4-pound bass stuck in its mouth. I mean, these fish will eat their body length and other fish.
Yeah, they'll probably eat their tail, too. Could you imagine that? Self-service.
Yeah, listen, they are brutal. If you don't think so, go out there with your goldfish you got and see what they do.
Yeah, what am I going to do when they outgrow the tank? That's the scary part. I mean, we're talking goldfish that were little that are huge. Guess what? Our time is up. We are off next week. The Hitman Show is off next week, but we'll be back. Actually, I lied. We'll be back next Friday. We have a great guest. Who it is? Say it in 15 seconds or less.
Michael Herrera. He is a UFO whistleblower.
And so we're going to talk about that. And he testified in front of Congress. Well, everybody out there, Rory and Kim and Tom, get that sports car. I would recommend, Tom, get a 58 or 59 Edsel. Get the one that's white and yellow two-tone. Everybody have a good one. We'll catch you on the other side of the campground on Friday.